Hi, Andy.
Howdy. Hi, Andy.
That's right. It's Andy and his other brother, Andy. So this thing's pretty cute, actually. In person, I'm amazed. The quality of it's quite different that that you just can't appreciate that, and I'm sure you've heard that. What's been the reception? What are people telling you about it?
That's basically what you just said. Is everybody that's looked at this thing it's kind of like from what I've posted online. It's now that they see it in person, what I online doesn't even do it justice.
No, I mean the sheer size of it is somewhat showable on there, but just not to the degree. But the quality of the craftsmanship is absolutely spectacular. So, you were telling us how you had actually constructed it. What's the basic building blocks again?
1/4 inch MDF, medium density fiberboard, and it's 1.5 inch. The pink styrofoam insulation between it.
Yeah,
and
what
it's
we all
glued
built
together
together,
with Glidden gripper paint primer.
Yeah. I've been meaning to try that since you talked about that. That's kind of fascinating to me, the idea of using paint. I use paint as an adhesive anyway, and we do for scenery, most of us do.
Yep.
So it's not that alien or foreign to think that we couldn't use it that way.
But so much of it is, I've seen where people use like the caulk type adhesive, and they also use the spray foam adhesive and everything else. But the problem with that is it has viscosity. And with the viscosity, you get the thickness, and I'm trying to hold a pretty tight tolerance as far as the dimensions for that bridge. So the Glidden gripper actually worked out very well.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, especially considering how you've assembled this thing. I mean, being modular means the tolerances have got to be pretty tight anyway.
Yep.
But so the bridge is separatable from the modules. It has its own modular system of the bridge.
It can be, yes.
And it looked like that from the end points of the abutment side of the bridge where it met. It looks like those are set to be like a receiver and socket system to separate. So when you pack it up, are you separate the bridge from the modules when you pack it?
Right now, I'm still at the mercy of you renting a U-Haul trailer, so I can take the second pair of arches and the fourth pair of arches. I just lift them out, and I can leave the center and the two ends on the module itself, and I can ship it and put it in the trailer and ship it. Eventually, I like to get to the point where I can even compress it farther, where I will create a crate like for it, where I'll use the structure of the actual modules to give it the rigidity as a crate.
I've seen a lot of people doing that. The Ohio Valley Sipping and Switching guys and the North Carolina Sipping and Switching guys, they use their modules as the framework, and they even design their scenery and structures to interlace, to figure to where they can strap modules to each other, as many as 4. But it looks like you've built yours in such a way that, or at least from what I can tell, that the bridge looks like you can basically take it off and flat pack it. Yep. And then you've got these small, relatively small modules that if you face them, you could, as large as that thing is, it seems like it would compact down quite considerably.
Yeah, eventually it should. Like I say, it's until I can actually get to that point, I gotta do what I gotta do.
But I'm amazed. We were talking earlier when I first run into you about the texture that you had got on the thing, and that's stellar. To recreate concrete as a texture. Color is one thing, and that's challenging enough. But concrete has a texture that we rarely model. A lot of people use styrene and other materials for concrete, and you don't get the texture. We lose texture with it. That's one reason I've leaned toward the methods I have. But so what were you were telling me how you had produced the texture with it with a paint product? So.
Originally, I was looking, and the first thing I was looking for was a color.
Yeah.
And I asked online, and people would come up with, we'll use this brand of Tamiya this, or Scale Coat this or that. And I said, oh, no, you don't understand. This is big.
Yeah, so a little bottle of paint.
Yes, so $5 for a little bottle of paint, and then I'm going to turn around and say, well, that's going to break the bank. So what I did is I started with house paint, which I thought I was getting tinted to a concrete color. But when I put it on, it dried and it looked too blue.
Wow, really?
But it served one purpose, is it gave me a base color to work with, as well as it sealed that 1/4 inch MDF, so I don't have to worry about it expanding and contracting too much.
Right.
Next thing I did is I tried folk art chalk paint. And the first one I did is I tried what they call a Parisian gray, which is a light gray. I put a little on and I looked and I said, no, that looks like too new a concrete. Yeah. I was getting the super flat that I wanted for concrete, but it was not quite the right color. Now there's another color that they have with it, it's called oatmeal. and that's a little bit more of a tan color, which would be more of a sandy type concrete.
Yeah.
And that wasn't quite right either. But when I took the two of them and mixed them in about equal proportions, I said, that looks good. So when I stood back and I looked at it, it looked great. But when I photograph it, I could see
the brown come out a little bit.
The brown come out of it, and I says, I've got to be getting close to what I want.
Yeah, people think concrete is gray. A lot of people, you see a lot of early modelers who do blacktop or tarmac, and they paint it black, and it's just fiercely wrong. Well, obviously, we all know that, but concrete's a lot closer to white, in my opinion, than it is any other tone. But you've got to warm it up. You've got, there's got to be a warm color to it, and you nailed it. You absolutely nailed the color of concrete as well as anybody I've seen.
Pièce de résistance was airbrushing it with India ink, very diluted India ink.
Oh yeah, a wash basically, but you run it through an airbrush.
Yes.
Yeah, that's really interesting that worked well. I've done really good with using inks through airbrushes for static grass too. That works well too. So, I mean, I was impressed with it before when I seen it just on camera. I mean, it's an undertaking that makes me question your sanity, but it's gorgeous. But in person, it's absolutely stellar. You nailed it. You really pulled something off that I'm astonished by. I mean, the prototype is equally impressive. I understand the inspiration from it. Tell us about the inspiration briefly before we let you go.
I originally wanted to just build a bridge.
A little bridge, or this kind of bridge like this?
I wanted to build a bridge, but when you go and build a bridge, you got your girder bridges, you got your truss bridges. And it's kind of like I was looking online to try to find, is there a proportion? Is there length and height? Is there a proportion or something like that? Because if you don't get the proportions right, you look like the bridge is either underbuilt or way over-engineered.
Yeah, it doesn't feel believable.
So when I was looking through, I looked like the engineered drawings for this bridge. And I thought, well, I can scale that.
Yep.
And I can maybe make a pair of arches or 2 pair of arches.
Okay.
And as soon as I did that, it was like...
You fell down the rabbit hole the rest of the way.
Yes, I was getting comments on Facebook on some of the different groups that I posted in, and said, is that Nicholson Bridge? And I said, yes it is. And when I started getting those comments, I said, I got to build the whole thing.
Yeah.
I will be booting my...
You're remiss if you don't go all the way.
Yes, I will be kicking myself in the rear if I didn't do that.
I sure heard quite a bit about it, just walking around the show and listening to people say, hey, have you been back to see that bridge back there? And somebody says, it's like 30 feet long. He's like, well, which corner is it? He says, just head back toward the back corner, you won't miss it.
It's only 25 feet 4 inches.
Only. That's right. Only 25 feet 4 inches.
Yeah, not quite 30.
Yeah, bigger than most people's layout roads. But that's the benefit to modular. So, but all right, thank you so much. Good to see you in person, Andy.
Same here.
Yeah.
And thank you for the compliments.
It's spectacular. You deserve it.